Welcome to Timeless Chronicles, where the cast of Band of Brothers is now James McAvoy. After appearing as Private First Class James Miller on Band of Brothers, James McAvoy continued to work on television series and miniseries alike. McAvoy won the first ever Rising Star Award from the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, BAFTA, in 2006. Michael Fassbender. Before joining the X-Men franchise as Eric Lenscher, aka Magneto, Michael Fassbender, who played Sanjit Burton Pat Christensen, spent his post-Band of Brothers years vacillating between television movies and series. With his role as Stelios in 300 in 2006, Michael Cudlitz broke into mainstream acting as Staff Sergeant Denver "Bull" Randleman on Band of Brothers, something he has parlayed into an extensive list of television and movie appearances. Damian Lewis earned a Golden Globe nomination in 2002 for his portrayal of Major Richard "Dick" Winters on Band of Brothers, but won in 2013 for his role as Nicholas Brody on Homeland. In the 10 intervening years, Lewis appeared in movies and television shows of moderate success. Ron Livingston went from the battlefield on Band of Brothers to the courtroom on The Practice. After 1 year on the legal drama, Livingston appeared in several movies while taking on television roles on series like Standoff, 2006 to 2007, Neil McDonough. Since playing Lynn D. Buck Compton on Band of Brothers, Neil McDonough has taken on a host of intense roles. He followed up the HBO miniseries with appearances on The X-Files and movies like Minority Report, 2002, Flags of Our Fathers, 2006, and Traitor, 2008. Donnie Wahlberg. As a member of New Kids on the Block, Donnie Wahlberg was a musician before he joined the cast of Band of Brothers, roots he maintained as he reunited with his bandmates for albums and tours ever since. Scott Grimes. 2 years after Band of Brothers, Scott Grimes, cast as Donald G. Malarkey, checked into ER, appearing as Archie Morris for 6 seasons. Grimes went on to play comedic and dramatic roles on television as Seabass on Justified, Special Agent Dave Flynn on NCIS Los Angeles, and Gordon Malloy on The Orville. David Schwimmer appeared on Band of Brothers after gaining acclaim as Ross Geller on Friends, but the dramatic role may have helped him branch out even further when the NBC series ended in 2004. After voicing Melman the Giraffe in the Madagascar movies and appearing on Broadway in 2006, Schwimmer directed former Band of Brothers co-star Simon Pegg in 2007's Run Fat Boy Run. Matthew Settle. Like some of his Band of Brothers co-stars, Matthew Settle, who played Ronald C. Spears, scrubbed up for ER after the show, later appearing on an array of television series and miniseries. Settle's biggest role came in 2007 when he portrayed Rufus Humphrey on Gossip Girl. Tom Hardy appearing in blockbusters like Inception, 2010, The Dark Knight Rises, 2012, Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015, and Venom, 2018, has propelled Tom Hardy to international stardom. The actor's career really began with Band of Brothers as John A. Janovic, though, a role that helped him continue on to star in television shows and movies across genres. Colin Hanks' Band of Brothers was one of several springboards for Colin Hanks' career, although his first major role after the miniseries was in stark contrast to Lit Henry Jones. Hanks appeared in the comedy Orange County in 2002, a precursor to later comedic acting gigs in Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, 2006, and The House Bunny, 2008. Simon Pegg played William Evans on Band of Brothers. Although many fans may identify him with comedic roles in Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, 2004, Hot Fuzz, 2007, and The World's End, 2013. Adam James, trained as a stage actor in his native England, Adam James followed up Band of Brothers with numerous roles on television on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. James appeared on The Walking Dead in 2007, no overlap with Band of Brothers castmate Michael Cudlitz, and played Kings of England, Henry VIII and Harold Godwinson in 2009 and 2017, respectively. He was also featured on the historical drama Belgravia in 2020. Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott, playing John D. Hall, took on a variety of roles in the years after Band of Brothers, the most notable of which include Professor Moriarty on Sherlock from 2010 to 2017 and the priest on Fleabag in 2019. Frank John Hughes. Frank John Hughes appeared in Catch Me If You Can in 2002, just 1 year after the Band of Brothers miniseries aired. Television roles on shows like Boomtown, Without a Trace, and Monk paved the way to a role as Walden Belfiore on The Sopranos in 2007. Ian Bailey. Like many of his fellow Band of Brothers castmates, Ian Bailey, playing David Kenyon Webster, appeared on ER before venturing into an array of television and movie projects during the 2000s and 2010s. Jamie Bamber. Jamie Bamber played Jack Foley on Band of Brothers, but is better known as Lee Apollo Adama from the Battlestar Galactica series.